Veterans Human Services Committee to order at 6:45. Members present, Council Tavares and Council Waterman. We have one guest tonight, Mr. Gill. There, come on up. Name, address.
Good evening. My name is Bill Gill. I live at 197 Dexter Street, Attleboro. I've been there about 35 years. I'm looking to get on the board for the Attleboro Public Library with the trustees. I've been actively involved in Attleboro from my entire life, from coaching my young kids in Attleboro youth baseball, soccer. I've been involved with scouts for 20 years. Attleboro elections, Council of Aging. I've been with the library for about 3 years. I just love to volunteer. I enjoy it very much. I also down the line, I was just down there teaching pickleball. So I love exercise too. One of the reasons why I'm joining, I'd like to join, I combine kind of my qualifications in joining together. Is that I've been volunteering at the library for over 3 years. I started off and I'm still doing sorting the books. I've also helped out what they call is weaning, taking old books off the shelf, looking for them that haven't been used for a couple of years, and then they either auction them off or do whatever the library does with them. I've also called what's called shelving. Okay, when people return the books, they put them in the bin. I go back and I put them in the same order that they're supposed to be in. I enjoy all the aspects of it. Especially putting the books back. I really kind of get to know some of the books, the authors. It's a great experience. The Council of Aging, I'm involved with the Triad Committee. I've also helped set up when they've had their functions for the seniors. I'm involved with my church, St. John's, for 30 years. I've been there. St. Vincent de Paul Society for 20 years. I just love getting out and being active and talking with people.
Well, I can say I've known Bill for a long, long time, and he is not exaggerating one bit about everything he's done, from the Scouts to youth baseball, and obviously a lot more that I wasn't even aware of too as well. And so he's always been there, and I think you're going to be a great addition. And obviously you were here for the elections as well too. And so it's just I mean, my hat's off to you. You've done a lot for so many years, and I really appreciate it and stuff. And I know my kids have appreciated it, and they've liked, being around you and everything in several different capacities. So, Councilor Waterman.
Oh, well, so we've met before.
Yes, on the courts.
And just so the council knows, you tried to teach me pickleball. And you beat me twice. That's okay. You have a wide range of interests, and I commend you for that. And so I've sat in on some of the board meetings for the library in the past, and there'll be administrative things, real, core decisions about the building and all of that too, and I expect you knew that.
Yes.
And I would imagine that your experience would be very valuable in that
Thank
way.
you.
Was there anything else particular about the library that maybe you didn't share with us?
Well, kind of education. Okay. Again, I did mention about, I love learning different things that they're teaching. I see that they have different games like chess games, the French club, history club, genealogy. I've sat in on a few of them, and I enjoyed them. It's just, unfortunately, there's so many different things happening there, I don't have the time to do them all.
No.
But I do know most of the people there. He's been working there for 3 years. I know all the people. I do get along with everybody there. There's not one person can say that I don't get along with.
Well, I'd be delighted to have you with us.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Council Tavares?
Just a comment. Thank you, Mr. Gill, for everything that you shared. Your commitment to the city and all that you've done the last several decades, as you've explained, are an inspiration. I think to younger residents like me, for sure. So thank you for that.
I've met you a couple of times on the Council of Aging.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And you know the drill, and you'll be hearing from us soon.
Okay, very
Great.
good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
All right. Take care. Okay, from the docket of September 17th, oh, wait, no, September 17th, 2024, I entertain a motion to accept a donation of $100 in market basket gift cards from Howard Levine to the Veterans Office in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinance.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares. I've known Howard, or Howie Levine, for many years, good guy, and this is very nice of him to do that. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. For the docket of September 17, 2024, I entertain a motion to authorize the Veterans Office to pay a prior year invoice of $315.27 to satisfy debt. There is no transfer of funds needed to pay these bills.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares. That's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions? No. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. All right. From the docket of September 3rd, 2024, I entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Bill Gill, 197 Dexter Street, to fill an unexpired term on the Board of Library Trustees, term to expire February 2026.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares. Obviously, we just heard from Bill. I think this is great. I'm amazed at all that he does, and I'm very happy for him to be here. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
This is a great pick.
All right, thank you, sir. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. All right, from the docket of September 3rd, 2024, entertain a motion to accept a donation to the Veterans Office of $200 in Stop and Shop gift cards from Rosemary Burrows.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares. Yeah, another one, this is great. I know Ben does a great job with distributing all these things, and this is great for the veterans, because this is things that they really can use. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. All right, for the docket of September 3rd, 2024, I entertain a motion to approve expending of such funds and any future grant amendments regarding receipt of a grant from the Bristol Elder Services in the amount of $7,514 to be used for the COA for the Mind and Body Programming. And also to transfer $1326 from 11241-000-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 11241-000-599-200 Citywide transfer to grant, and further transfer $1,326 to account 233-704-499-700 Bristol Elders Council of Aging, Mind and Body.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares. I mean, this is a grant that they've been getting, and they're going to be using this very quickly, and this is going to help a lot of stuff at the Council of Aging, and I know this is going to help a lot of people, as it has been in the past. And any questions, comments?
I think this is an ongoing program.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for a number of years, so
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah, very, very. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. Just want to check one other thing. It's 9:17, public hearing. So, and today's 9:10, so we're going to hold on to that one. All right. Call for adjournment at, let's see, what time is it? 6:54.
Second.
All right, thank you, Councilor Tavares. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned at 6:54.
From the docket of September 17, 2024, I entertain a motion to authorize the payment of a fiscal year 24 invoice in the amount of $1,300 to Cryan Landscaping. There is no transfer of funds needed to pay this bill, as there is sufficient funding in the in Fund 2602.
Second.
Motion's in order. It's payment of a previous year bills. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. All right, and this next one might have some discussion. From the docket of September 3rd, 2024, I entertain a motion to adopt the local option for Chapter 473 of the Acts of 1984 at the request of the Contributory Retirement Board. Chapter 473 of the Acts of 1984 is a local option that amended the calculation for a termination retirement allowance from a 5-year regular compensation calculation to a 3-year calculation.
Second.
Motion's in order. All right, so I held on to this one until I could have a fairly lengthy discussion with the auditor about this. And she is in favor of this, and what this is doing is it's in adopting a local option from 1984, which changes the calculation for employees that are terminated that have served with the city for 20 years or longer and therefore qualify for a pension. And so the calculation for what that pension that they qualify for would change from currently, it's calculated based on their highest 5 years, and this would change it to calculate it based on their highest 3 years, which aligns with what's standard practice for most employees within the city. And the thought, so this is only for employees that are terminated and not terminated for something agreed, like if they were stealing from the city or there was something for a cause. There was one particular case with the previous administration that caused this and caused the retirement board to look into this, and they were calculating the retirement for this individual, and when they calculated, calculated it based on 3 years, and then when they went to the state, they're like, oh, have you adopted this, the Act of 1984? And because they hadn't, they had to calculate it based on a 5-year average. And the thought is for employees that maybe are let go because of differences with the administration or something like that, not necessarily for cause. And these are only for employees that have been with the city for more than 20 years and therefore qualify for a pension. And this isn't changing whether or not they receive a pension. Regardless of what we accept or not, they're still going to qualify for a retirement allowance. This is just changing how they calculate that allowance. And this is comes at the recommendation of the retirement board. And so basically, so this is based on their recommendation and how infrequently this is going to come up, and it would have affected this one person by a very small amount. I think it makes sense to move forward with it. I'm going to support it, but I also recognize that not everybody, maybe not everybody is going to support this, and there may be further questions. But I'll open it up to discussions. I've had a long conversation with the auditor about this and could probably answer some other questions, or if people want to go back and I can get further answers as well. Councilor Sawyer.
Yeah, so would that mean that they, I don't know, would get more money? I don't understand how the calculation would work. Like,
In theory, yes, they would receive more money. Mm-hmm. Yes.
okay. I think.
Yes.
Still, I'm not understanding it, but it doesn't matter. I just wanted to-
So it's based on their highest So currently, it's based on their the average of their highest 5 years of salary. And so we calculate their retirement is whatever the calculation is. The factor that goes into that is they average out their top pay for their average 5 years, whatever the top 5 year range was. This is going to reduce that range to 3 years. So if they had a higher pay for a shorter period, in theory, that would increase the retirement allowance. Counselor Holmes.
Thank you. So I know you said this doesn't happen that often, but you know, yearly, is it one person a year, or is it one every 5 years typically? How often has this been?
Once in the auditor's memory, and she's been around for a while.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Tavares.
So I'm just trying to think through the net effect of this. So switching from the 5-year calculation to the 3-year calculation, I think made sense when you said that, because it's not consecutive years, right? They're the highest.
They are
earning
consecutive.
Years. Oh, they are consecutive.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, then I misunderstood that. Okay, so so switching from 5 consecutive years to the 3. So are they the 3 highest consecutive years?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so not necessarily the last 3 years of their employment.
Correct.
Okay. And so the proposed, or I should say, in theory, the net effect seems to, from what you explained, if I'm understanding this correctly, seems to favor the terminated employee in terms of the calculation.
It does.
Yeah, and that assumes that if it's 5 years, that those last 2 years would theoretically, may include lower earning years, bringing down their average potentially.
Potential, or earlier years that, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That concludes the business for the Finance Committee. I move to adjourn at 7:02.
Do you want to cancel IT time?
Yes, and IT and infrastructure.
Oh, I'm
is-
sorry.
Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned at 7:02. IT and infrastructure is canceled for tonight.
Perfect. I'd like to call to order the licensing committee at 7:03. Beside me are Councilors Waterman and Holmes. From the docket of August 20th, 2024, I entertain a motion to approve a new Class 2 auto dealership license request from Attleboro Auto Clinic LLC, located at 42 County Street in Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. So obviously they came out and spoke a little at the public hearing, more so their attorney. I did look into the businesses owned by these two gentlemen. All the reviews actually do look really well. A couple things I did find was more so with the Attorney General's office. There was a couple open matters on there. I am awaiting clarification on those. As being so, I'm comfortable moving this out tonight. Regardless, I hope to have answers for next week. And I also wanted to look into stipulations on the license regarding the promise that the property is operable and safe. Obviously, the current condition is not adequate to do a dealership out of. So my worry would be approving this and then having them, let's say, put an office trailer there and operate out of that with the property as it is. I don't think that's fair to downtown business. So I'm also looking into those. But what I don't want to do is hold up this another 2 weeks for me to do a little more research on that front. So again, I'm happy moving this out tonight if the two of you agree, and we'll take a broader look next Tuesday.
Can you say a little more about them having an office on site and what your thoughts are?
Yeah, so obviously the building has had 2 fires to the structure one to the rear of another structure. The property has been cleaned up, but I mean, there's still noticeable fire damage on the rear of the main building. In particular, the roof has pretty severe damage. So, you know, promises are great. What I don't want to do is approve this on the premise, right, the good old-fashioned handshake of, we're going to put $150,000 into the property and make it look good. For them to have the license to operate and then to put a temporary office trailer on the property and begin selling cars with the existing building still there as is. There's nothing within the license that deviates that it has to be in the existing building. It's just the address. So what I want to do is look into the city's capability, which I've never come across. I've already researched it a bit. Never come across anything that would allow us to not put in the restrictions that it would be operated out of the current location with the promise of it being safe to operate out of. So I'm hesitant on promises with no sort of restrictions or concrete reinforcement behind it, if that clarifies it a bit.
Well, it helps. I hear some hesitation on your part. If we vote, well, we wouldn't be voting in the license tonight.
Correct.
We'd be just doing that in committee. But if you had 2 more weeks, do you think that would make a difference?
No, I don't think so. More so, it's not really hesitation. It's more, I want to be transparent before I bring it out. Because what I will do is I will put them in as, you know, they'll come in as amendments or motions to amend on the full council, which has to go before the full council.
Okay.
So it's not anything I'd put in committee. So it's something I'd want to do with the whole floor. But I think it would be negative of me if I'm not transparent in saying that that's something I'm looking into doing for next Tuesday. I'm totally comfortable bringing this out tonight.
Okay.
Based on what I've seen with the reviews and the feedback from the existing businesses. I just want to make sure that, you know, we're doing our part to take care of the downtown business by making sure that there's not going to be an existing eyesore and that we further the problem. Yeah, I just want to be really transparent on that. But I'm not hesitant bringing this out tonight. But just keep in mind that that's something I'll be looking into for next Tuesday. Anybody else?
No.
Councilor Tavares?
I just wanted to say thank you, Councilor Lavoie, for your due diligence on this thus far. I think there's always a balance with these things. On the one side, I think it's incumbent on us to be pro-business in terms of that area in downtown. I mean, that's an area we want to promote these sorts of businesses in, I think. From what we heard from the public hearing from their attorney and the applicants, obviously they've got some skin in the game. They from what I can tell, it looks like they've got the property under contract, and they've done some work. Pending. Hopefully, they're going to get the license against their their attorney's counsel. I can definitely appreciate the risks that they've taken there, and I think that's what entrepreneurs do. So that's good to see on the one side. On the other side, obviously, we all as councilors have an obligation to the residents that we serve here in the city to make sure that we're putting in we're allocating licenses accordingly to businesses that can operate within within the rules of those licenses. So I think that's important too. But I definitely don't want to be one to stand in the way of a business who wants to be here in our city and operate in our city if they can do so safely and they have a good track record. So thanks for looking into that, and it's something that I will support on the floor. Pending any new information that comes out. So appreciate it.
Thank you for that. And just to also throw in is, I did receive a little input from others who thought that this, and I mean, technically this is outside of the downtown plan. However, this property is, a property that's grandfathered in to be able to sell cars downtown. As there are ordinances against that. That being said, this property sold cars since before I was alive, my father was alive. And, I don't think that I want to be the person in the way to stop that if there's people that want to invest in Attleboro. And obviously there's been other attempts to develop it and that fell through. I think there's a lot of criteria there and things beyond, my education in terms of engineering specs that of why it can't be done, or maybe it could for how much. So it's just nothing that, I want to get in the way of. So, but I wanted to just mention the bit of pushback I did get on that zoning factor of it. But I do believe in the right to sell a business to whomever, and as long as the business is able to legally conduct business, then I don't believe I should be in the way either. So with that, I'll open the floor to any final comments before a vote. All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. And with that, I'll call for an adjournment at 7:10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call City Property and Claims Committee to order at 7:10. And I'm going to ask Laura to be my third on this. So I have one motion from the docket of September 17th, 2024. I entertain a motion to hold you know what, I'm going to discuss this first because I don't want to call that out. So first of all, this came out last week. We heard it being read in, some of it anywhere. And I want people to understand, because there's all kinds of discussion. It has been in the paper. It's also been on Facebook. It's just running rampant. That this is an idea, a concept. That all that we're voting on tonight is that the land that was already subdivided by our former mayor is coming away from that and being dispositioned as a lease. That's what's coming out, which is the 5.5 actually acreage. So, but what I'm saying is what has been heard is not a determination. It's not a final. It's us saying, yes, this is a possibility. This is a concept that is happening. This is something that is going to be possibly promoted by this administration. There are ample opportunities for people, when the RFP, if it ever comes out, to speak at a public hearing for or against it. That is not what we're doing tonight. Tonight is for us to entertain an opportunity for the public to come out and discuss as well, do they agree with this particular disposition? And is that clear? Does anybody have any questions?
Actually, I do. So you had said disposition for a lease, is that?
Well,
Specifically for a
we're
lease?
going to we're owning the property. It's never going to be sold. That property is never going to be sold. We own that property. It's being requested for a lease. That's what is being requested.
Okay. It's also not written here. for
It's
the
not
lease. It
written
just
here,
says
but that is what
disposition.
it is, and it was read at length into our record. Any other questions? Yes.
More so a comment. I'm fairly in favor of this as a whole. I understand that's not what the business is tonight. But I do think a public hearing is great if that's what everyone wants to do. Just to gauge public opinion. And,
Pros and
yeah,
cons.
and I mentioned the other day, I wish the city at times had some sort of online, response that we could let registered voters access, and just opinion polls on things like this that don't even maybe fit the purview of a public hearing. But nonetheless, I definitely look forward to hearing from people and seeing where they're at.
And to remember, again, that doesn't mean that whatever has been proposed would be a final. There's so many more times for it to come down before this council to vote. There are so many other times that it's going to show up, whether it would be an RFP if it even gets to that. And if it gets to that and it becomes an RFP, there's changes that can be made at that time, just like we did with 135 County Street, just like we did with other properties, and whenever we do. There's always a chance for further discussion. This is not the whole picture at this moment in time. Okay? Okay. From the docket of September 17th, 2024, I entertain a motion to hold a public hearing on October 15th, 2024, regarding the proposal to declare 5.496 acre parcel identified as Assessor's Plat number 115, lot number 1B, with a current assessed value of $977,400 as surplus and available for disposition.
Second.
Thank you.
But you got a second.
Second, okay. Any comments or questions, further concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion is passed, and that is all the business City Property and Claims has this evening. I'd like to call for an adjournment.
Second.
Second, thank you. We are adjourned, City Property and
7:15.
Claims at 7:15. Thank you.
Public Works Committee has no business this evening.
Good evening. I called to order the Public Safety and Emergency Management Committee. I just have myself, Council DeVore, and Council Angelo. I just have one update. There was some notices that went out because there's been some car break-ins. It's called Hide It, Lock It, Keep It brochures, and I think that they've been kind of spreading them out since they've gone out. The calls for car break-ins has decreased. I thought that that was a great effort by our police department, and I really praise them for doing that. Did you guys hear from any residents that received any or any feedback? I did, and I think that that was a good effort to kind of let people know and remind them, just making sure that you're keeping your car locked, because obviously all the break-ins were just unlocked cars that were at night parked in their driveway. So just a reminder to do that, and that's all the business I have this evening, and I'll call for an adjournment.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:16. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I said the time, but it's probably a minute.
I call the Zoning and Land Use Committee to order at 7:16. And I actually just was asked to reread the public hearing date, reschedule from the docket of August 20th, 2024. I entertain a motion to hold a public hearing on October 1st, 2024 regarding the rezoning petition from Sandrose Realty LLP by Ronald Carty to rezone Assessor's Plat number 18, lot 500S, 500U, and 500V from Planned Highway Business to General Residence A.
Second.
Thank you, and that's all that I had, is just to read that over to make sure that everybody knew that it is on October 1st. And that's all the business I have for the.
All those.
So are you gonna take a
sorry.
vote?
Was on,
Well, I mean, I gave you a second, might as well just vote it and,
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes, and that's all the business I have for zoning and land use, and I'd like to adjourn at 7:17.
second.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Do you want to vote on the adjournment?
Oh, okay.
All those in favor? Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just do it wrong every time.
We're just getting back into the swing of things.
Yep.
So I will call the Transportation and Traffic Committee open at 7:17. So we had a 1 minute meeting there.
Yep.
I have one item of business that I would like to bring forward for discussion and a possible vote. And that is from the docket of April 2nd, 2024, to install an RRFPB, paint crosswalk and complete the sidewalk to meet ADA compliance at South Main Street and Sienna Road, or to suggest the closest possible area to place a crosswalk for safety. And this is originally, this came from Councilor Holmes.
We need to second.
Second.
All right. So this has gone before the Traffic Study Commission, and they have approved it in June. And the question was, is it going to be at the site of Sienna, which on the other side, there are two streets. They're not immediately on the other side. They're up the road towards the Elks on the other side. It's used primarily, but not totally, as a crosswalk for children, for buses, school buses, twice a day. And the people that have brought this up as a concern to me, and I would, if as we go into this discussion, you're more than welcome to add to it. Have been concerned because it doesn't appear to be the safest place in Attleboro. There is a hill, a small hill and a small curve to the north side of that crosswalk as you're looking up, because this is south of the Elks Club, all right? And this crosswalk cannot be seen until a car that's driving approximately 40 miles an hour gets within 3 to 4 seconds of that crosswalk. There have been no serious issues in terms of anybody being hit that I am aware of, but it has made some people nervous. And so I have talked to the mayor about this issue, and I've also talked to Mike Tyler extensively about this issue. Mike suggested as an alternative that we might want to move the crosswalk further south, but that would require building a sidewalk, which would extend at least beyond 3 or 4 houses. The next farthest road south on the side of Sienna is Theodore. So the thought there was that we would build another crosswalk there, build a sidewalk from both Theodore and Sienna. It would meet, have a crosswalk and lighting and signage. So Mike Tyler showed Chief Hegney, and they've seen that property too. And the chief was supportive of the second idea to do an alternate crosswalk. It would have cost approximately $99,000 plus, a great deal of it going into the sidewalk. The mayor has decided that the current crosswalk is a better location, and it has been painted white. And the only thing, and we have put another new sign up just north of the crosswalk on the, not on the Sienna side, but on the other side, where Patriot, and that, I can't remember the other street over there is. So I went up there and I walked the area completely, again, for about the 5th time. And I was counting, I was looking for when I'm walking down the sidewalk, not on the Sienna side, but on the Patriot side, the Elks Club side. When do I see the crosswalk in its entirety? Not just one little line just over the edge of the horizon, but both, clearly. And then I stopped at that exact spot and I timed a number of cars and how long it took for them to get from where I was to that crosswalk. The majority of the cars I saw took 3 seconds. A couple were going slower, 4 seconds. So we cannot approve a light, an RFP. We can recommend a light by passing this. The mayor would have to decide at that point whether she wants to request money for that or not. Because it isn't just, so the mayor has done a very good thing. She has arranged for the children of all their variety of ages to be picked up by the school buses at both sides. It would go down one side, pick them up, come around, get the other side. But there are other people who also use that crosswalk, and the children cross it at other times. And I believe the original calls that came in asking for this were from adults who were concerned. I would like to propose that we support this motion with the thought that the only additional thing we're really asking for is an RRFP, which I am told costs between $9,000 and $10,000. I feel it's a safety issue. Any questions? I'm Councilor Lavoie and then Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. Kind of a question / comment. What's stopping us from doing 2 flashing devices, one at the crosswalk and then one wired directly further down the road, like perhaps a little bit sooner on the curve?
I mean an RRFP?
Correct, yeah. So if we you have one southbound, one northbound, and then further down, a secondary one to alert
Well,
vehicles coming around.
there
the
is a
corner.
lot of sight. There's a long straight stretch south of that.
Southbound, northbound's the side with the curve.
Northbound.
Yeah.
Well, nothing is stopping us if we want to have two lights. We could do that, in my opinion. We certainly, I think, should add another sign farther north so that they see first one sign, then a second, and then they immediately are at the crosswalk. That's an option. Council, was there anything else?
No, yeah, I think that's fine. Just maybe worth noting and mentioning. I think any preemptive alert around that corner is good. 3 seconds seems pretty short in today's standard. I think when I used to teach drivers that, it was what, like, I forget how many seconds now. Probably shouldn't say that, but
It's
like 3 to 5 or something like that. But I mean, nowadays you probably need 7 to 10 with everyone being distracted and all the technology and music and everything.
It's a 40-mile-an-hour area.
Yeah.
Councilor Dorn.
So I'm not a fan of where the crosswalk is now. I agree that, maybe if there was another light, I don't think it would be an RRFB because, it's at a crosswalk, that's what the point. But I mean, if it was some type of flashing light or whatever. And even with the RRFBs installed now that have a straightaway, I mean, people still don't stop at it. It makes me nuts. I mean, I've driven behind people that just, the lights are flashing and they're still going through it. This corner really, really makes me nervous because I've driven down there and I know exactly where it is, and I know because when Council Holmes put this in, I drove down there. I mean, I guess we could put it in for an RFB there, but I'm not a fan. I would have preferred it to be moved because I think it's too close to the corner and people drive too fast. So I'll vote for an RRFB there, but I'm not a fan of the location at all. I think it's too dangerous, even with the light.
We could, you could make an amendment for the
Well, I wouldn't know
original
where to
idea.
amend it to. That's what our traffic study's for. They would recommend, all right, let's put it at, Joe Drive or whatever. But we don't have anything in front of us from traffic study, do we? Because the whole point of this was to either put it there or recommend a better place. I thought we were gonna come back, I was hoping we'd come back and they said, we're gonna put it 300 feet further up. That's what I thought was gonna happen with this.
That's what I was hoping would happen too.
You said they approved it, but they approved it to where it is right now?
They approved it to where it is right now back in early June, and that was the last time they met. And since then, Mike Tyler recommended this option of moving the 200 or 300 feet. I haven't counted how far, but it's plenty. It's 8 seconds to get to where he was considering.
I don't know. I mean, I think moving it would be ideal because I don't know if everybody here knows exactly where this is, but it's dangerous. It's 40 miles an hour,
And Mike
and it gives people a false sense of security. So when people hit that button and they're toodalooting along, and people that are driving 40, I don't know. This location scares me. So I don't know if I want to invest in a light, but if we're forced to keep it where it is, then I'll vote for the light. So that's where I'm at.
I don't know if I missed anything, but I know I dealt with Michael Tyler on this and many other things in the time I've been on the council, and I can tell you this, Michael Tyler has never steered me wrong, and generally he knows, it's been him and Bobby Ruggio, and they've always made some good decisions, so I'm in favor of, going with, Michael Tyler's recommendation.
Of moving it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine, completely fine.
No, I was apologizing to Ty because it's his committee, so I apologize for interrupting.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. No, I
Yeah, and
appreciate that.
I'll be honest with you, I have to get down there, and I know South Main Street, and I'm trying to picture Sienna Road in my head because I know I've heard it a million times, but I gotta get down there and take a look at it.
So
but,
that has been looked at very carefully by Mike and by Chief Hegney,
yeah,
that area. It would require building a sidewalk. And we're talking 99,000, I don't know, 600 or 700 something for that. Mike has it. I've got that at home. And the mayor has has seen this.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
I just was going to say that I think the best thing for safety in a 40-mile-an-hour road, which I could suggest another 40-mile-an-hour road have a lights too, but should have enough time. And so I would request, or before moving it, instead of leaving it where it is, because for safety, for kids, for everybody else going across the street.
So am I understanding you that you also agree that it should be farther
Yes.
down the street? Councilor Roy.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask too, wasn't an issue brought up regarding these exact devices too? And I agree with the false sense of security as well. I see it all the time. But from Councilor Delicio, where it wanted to change the colors on one of the newer pieces of business that came through, I thought because of the concern was people weren't stopping for the colors of the devices we're using now.
Are you
So they were
talking about
changed-
the color of the crosswalk itself?
No, the flashing lights. I believe that the new business came in with different colored lights because studies proved they were more effective than the yellow and white. Was, in my memory, could be wrong, but I believe that was a new business that came in
Yeah.
a couple weeks back.
I really can't speak to that. I haven't had that discussion with him. Councilor Reynolds, were you raising your hand?
No.
Wasn't sure.
No. Although I agree with the yellow.
What?
I think it looks more like a slow down sign. If it's red, people would notice the blinking red because it's like you're in front of a fire station or something, so I would opt for that. It's a reasonable request and see how that works out.
Councilor Holmes, was there anything you would like to?
No, I think potentially if it's been suggested at a different location, I'm okay with that. And I think the residents are too. They want it. The whole purpose is for them to have a safe way to cross the street. So if it needs to be moved up slightly, I think that they would be okay with that.
All right. So, I'm sorry?
Oh, did Lori get her chance to speak yet?
I did.
You did?
You did. Was there anyone else who would like to speak?
Oh.
Didn't see you, sorry.
I just raised my hand. I don't want to belabor the point, but I do feel the same way as several other counselors that I think creating sort of this false sense of security based on that scenario of where that potential crosswalk would be and the curve. I mean, I've spent a fair amount of time there, and I remember just even last year campaigning right around the corner, those side streets off of South Main, and running across the street both ways. And I'm pretty nimble, but it's definitely, I think, one of those situations where you hit the button and you just start walking, but as the walker and then also the driver, you don't have that visibility two ways, and I just feel it would make more sense to to move that crosswalk elsewhere where you can have that visibility.
And right now, there is no button.
Yeah. No, I'm saying if it's installed. I'm looking sort of at, we move in this direction and install it. Right. I almost feel it's safer the way that it is now. Call me crazy, but I think it's safer the way it is now because people are actually sort of on notice and they're alerted. Hey, look, cross at your own risk, right? And I think that's safer than actually putting in a crosswalk that says, "Oh no, this is a safe place to cross," where you don't have that visibility. So that would also be my concern. But so my attempt to not belabor the point.
So the Traffic Study Commission meets in 2 weeks. I would like to bring the council's collective wisdom back to that group and up with them. And I too agree with everything I've heard today. I would like to see that sidewalk built so that we can have that crosswalk farther down. And it'd be safe on both sides then, because it's kind of right in the middle of a long straightaway. So I will bring this back in due time.
So you want me to withdraw my second?
Yes, you can withdraw your second at this point. I'm finished. I'm not going to ask for a vote on this tonight.
All right, I withdraw my second.
Thank you. So I'll call for an adjournment at 7:34. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I call ordinances, elections, and legislative matters to order at 7:35. Members of my committee include myself, Councilor Holmes, and Councilor Kovas. From the docket of June 18, 2024, I entertain a motion to amend Section 10-5.10, handicapped and veterans parking spaces as follows. Change Bank Street easterly side from 120 feet northerly of Park Street to 150 feet northerly of Park Street, to Bank Street easterly side from 196 feet northerly of Park Street to 218 feet northerly of Park Street.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Pulling up my notes here. So I communicated with the mayor about this several weeks ago to find out the genesis of this piece of business, just for a little bit of narrative here. But this issue was actually brought to the mayor's attention by a resident and a customer of Borough Bagels. So currently the handicap location or parking spot was in front of, pretty much directly in front of the door of Borough Bagels. Although you mentioned this to me a while back, Councilor Lavoie, and it looks like it's already been changed. The spot's been moved, which is fine. I have no, I'm not opposed to the change, but currently it looks like it's already been made effective. But I mean, I don't have any concerns with moving the spot. As I said, it's already been done. However, I'll open the floor if anybody has any comments. No. Councilor Lavoie.
Real quick, might as well. No, I mean, yeah, obviously I noticed a while back, and I had asked you about it, that it was already done, which is fine, I guess. Maybe a redundancy in government, but yeah, either way, I support it. My father's handicapped, and I think trying to exit out of a vehicle into a group of people that are already waiting outside a business, thankfully for Borough Bagel's sake, the line's usually out the door. So I think it was definitely a challenge getting out of a vehicle with a bunch of people on the sidewalk there. And I think now, whereas it's in front of a vacant business or office space, it's much more suitable where it is now. So I definitely support it, even though it's been done.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
I have a comment. I mean, what if we didn't? I mean, I don't know what to say, I guess.
Okay.
We've got to move it somehow out of committee, so.
Move it back. I make an amendment to move it back to where it was, and then we're gonna read it. Yes, all in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. From the docket of November 21st, 2023, I entertain a motion to amend Section 12.3.3P of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as follows. P, engage in disorderly conduct pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 272, Section 53, as construed by the courts.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Okay, so this piece of business has been a long time coming. Through a lot of different process, but I will sort of give the synopsis because it has been probably a good 8 months here. But just for everybody's edification, the genesis of this particular piece of business started with a letter that we received from the ACLU several months back that was contesting this particular ordinance that's mentioned here in this piece of business. So it's 12-3.3P, and they've stated that it appears to be unconstitutional on its face. So it's a loitering ordinance, and the city solicitor did do a review of this particular ordinance in light of the letter that the city received at the time, and concluded that the language was indeed problematic. And originally this came down to us as a request to strike the ordinance. One of the things that I did early on is I reviewed that ordinance and reviewed several decisions by the municipal law unit of the AG's office and Supreme Court cases, SJC cases, to really zero in on the scope of, you know, what is constitutional when it comes to loitering ordinances. And so I've talked extensively with the solicitor over the last several months, and actually came up with much more language than this, which actually we've gone back and forth with the ACLU on to see if it's something that, out of courtesy, that you know, they would support. And so we went back and forth and came up with really this one line. So I will say, after all this, my thought is that from a policy standpoint, it makes sense to maintain the essence of the ordinance. So instead of completely removing it, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, as the adage says, I thought it made more sense to actually create an ordinance that would comport with federal, state, and local laws. I did talk to the police chief, because I thought, hey, this is probably the person that it affects the most, right, here in the city. So, and the police chief was rather agnostic, I think, towards the change, and didn't really express an opinion one way or the other as to the amendment, since his enforcement ability to address disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, is already covered under state law. And that is a conversation that I did have with the mayor as well. So, so to be quite honest, I think this is probably more about optics than anything else. But I think it's important, especially in this day and age, to show that we do support, you know, our law enforcement and their ability to do their job well. But at the same time, I think, you know, we do need to be sensitive to, you know, maybe some older ordinances that, you know, may not be completely in touch with where they need to be. I mean, a lot of these ordinances were passed several decades ago, and things have changed, the laws developed. So anyway, that's my position. So I'll open it up for any comments, questions, if anybody has any. Yes?
What was the original ordinance that you're amending?
What was the original ordinance? So the original ordinance allowed for, let me see. So I'd have to read you the section here, which I can. I can pull it up if we want to discuss it.
I just was curious as to what was being changed in this whole process, what they thought was.
I need a minute to pull it up.
I have it if you need it. I have it right here.
Great.
Do you want to see it?
Paper form is great.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. So as it currently reads now, section P, so I'll read the context. So section 12-3.3 starts with, unless otherwise directed, organized, or permitted by the commissioners, and that's the recreational commissioners, it shall be unlawful in the parks, commons, playgrounds, athletic fields, and outdoor recreation facilities of the city of Attleboro and then P, the subject matter here is loiter or behave oneself in a rude or disorderly manner, use any indecent or profane language, or solicit the acquaintance of, follow, or otherwise annoy other visitors. So the criticism, and rightly so, is how do we define loitering, right? And what does it mean to be rude or disorderly, or, you know, what constitutes indecent or profane language, and does that cross the bounds of First Amendment protections? And, you know, what does it mean to follow or annoy someone, and how are the police or law enforcement able to enforce this ordinance without clear standards for what these things mean from a legal standpoint? So it just creates a lot of challenges. So I understand the original ask was to strike the ordinance completely. I think we should keep it and amend it in a way that is constitutional. So again, it's not something that will, either way, it's not going to change, I think, the law enforcement's ability to carry out their work in an effective and efficient manner. Again, this is This is something that's covered under state law. But again, I don't think it's something that hurts to reinforce at the local level as well, being as this is already an ordinance here. I think it would be different if we were, creating another ordinance out of thin air to address an issue that's already been addressed at the state issue. But what we're doing is we're fixing an ordinance that is, I guess you could say, illegal at this point. So. Yes, Councilor LeBlanc.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for your hard work on this. I know you put a lot of time into it. And I also want to thank you for sticking up for I think the police department and allowing them to still conduct their job and keep Attleboro in order, so to speak. But I also think it shows a good side of the city to be open to hearing out anyone that wants to contest anything that is freestanding, and our ability to work and be flexible on those. But I definitely support it, and I feel even better supporting it given the recent decision from the Supreme Court, kind of coinciding with this a little bit. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. So I have the language here that you're proposing. So, I mean, in my opinion, I like you said, the chief was agnostic about it, and they're going to do their job as well as they always do, regardless of what we change this to. I agree with that you said that. But when you say, like, trying to come up with, what does rude mean? What does, these words mean? So I think in the new language, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, just different words, like obscene, outside the scope of constitutional protection, which, obviously, you think you're talking about the First Amendment. But I mean, I think constitutionally, this is already covered federally. You know what I mean? So I would prefer we just strike it, because I feel like it's almost the same thing, just different words to me.
So just to clarify, this is different. So this is pointing to the state law. So
The chapter 272, section
this-
53.
Yep, which already exists. So we're pointing to that disorderly conduct law that's already on the books. That's what the change is.
Right.
Everything else would get deleted, but end result is the same. So I don't think you're wrong.
Right.
Yeah. I would agree with that assessment.
It's fine either way. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I just think it's kind of like a potato.
Fair enough.
Not going to
fair
change
enough.
anything
Yep.
type thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's wrong.
Thank you. I like keeping this because striking it just indicates kind of it was never there, but this indicates that we're hoping that people can conduct themselves in an appropriate way. And so I'm okay. I like striking the first, not striking it, but changing it to this. We're striking it and changing it.
And another thing I'll add is a part of the initial discussions, I did inform the mayor that, along with the solicitor, that we were, going back and forth with the ACLU as a matter of courtesy to ask, hey, look, this is the language that we're thinking about, proposing to the council. Is this something that you would be okay with? Being they're the ones that, originally brought this to our attention. And so I think one of the things she was afraid of was, running into sort of this battle with the ACLU over the language of our ordinance. And as far as I'm concerned, we're the policy-making body here in Attleboro. We're the ones that determine, what the ordinances say. Of course, they have to be constitutional and legal by federal, state standards. But I think how we choose to handle it is the prerogative of the council, right? And not an outside group, whether we strike it, whether we amend it. So I think as a matter of courtesy, we included them so that way we could sort of get some buy-in. So I'm bringing this tonight on the floor, having done all that work with the city solicitor as well. So just in case that's a concern to anyone, that's something that we have vetted out with them. So. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, and the last piece of business. From the docket of April 16, 2024, I entertain a motion to approve the attached resolution to amend the city charter to provide for the appointment of the positions of city treasurer and city collector as opposed to elected, and to petition the Massachusetts legislature to enact to enact the same.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Okay, so we have discussed this piece of business in committee before, right? It's been several weeks. But one of the things that that I've kept on coming back to as I've sort of analyzed the requests coming down from the administration is the fundamental change in power, I think, in the way that we address the treasurer and collector positions. So I understand the potential dangers of having someone elected in those positions who may not be competent, may not do the job well, but quite frankly, I mean, that could be the case for any one of our seats here, right? For someone who's quote unquote popular enough to get elected, that doesn't necessarily say anything about your ability to do the job well. Now, at the same time, I think the real question is who should we trust to fill that position? Should it be the administration, regardless of who's there, right? A bureaucracy, or should it be the people? And so that's something that I think as a voter, I would tend to lean towards. Well, I'd rather have that election or have that position elected and let the people make the best decision over who should have those positions. And so it's not something that I will support at the end of the day. However, if this is something that the rest of the council is in favor of moving forward, this resolution and petitioning the legislature, I'd say at the very least we should condition it on voter approval and let the voters be the ones to give up that right of having the mayor appoint that position as opposed to electing them as we have for decades now. So that's my position. So I mean, what I'd like to do is come to some sort of resolution here in committee. But maybe you both have ideas for how we should handle this, and I want to make sure the full council gets the opportunity to weigh in on this as well. So, any thoughts, Councilor Kovas?
I personally, I don't think these should be elected positions. I don't think these should be elected positions, and I agree with moving this forward. I don't think we should rush to this. I agree with your opinion that we should allow the voters to decide on this, and my view would be we should potentially, I mean, I think it's too late to sort of move forward to put this in front of the voters for November. We should take our time with this, figure out how to move forward with this for potentially next November, and take our time to sort of potentially put it on the ballot for next November to put it in front of the voters and figure out what that process looks like. I think that would be the right path forward, and but I believe, my personal belief is that this should not be, those two positions should not be elected positions. But I also agree with you that we as a body shouldn't just take that right away from the residents just on a sort of a vote of the 11 of us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah, I appreciate that. Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. I agree that the voters should determine this, but there's been, since I've been in the council, there's been a number of things that have come up that indicate almost us creating a charter commission, and that potentially looking at some of these things that have come up through the years, and this could be one of them, but I'm okay with taking out this single issue and having it, understanding the process of getting it on a ballot. I think that would be probably the appropriate approach, or trying to see what would it take to get a charter commission going in the community and having them take some of these issues that have come up over the years. Because there was, at one point, the administration wanted the mayor to be part of the school committee, and that was another area of kind of, you know, we're not the appropriate body to make these decisions, I feel. And so, yeah, that concludes my comments.
Councilor Wyrie?
Well, I also agree that this should be decided by the voters. And I think next November is a good time. But I resonate with you, Councilor Tavares, because you use the word power. I think that's the accurate word. If a treasurer, for example, is part of a team rather than her or his own entity, their own person, they would, and the mayor essentially becomes their superior. And I would want a treasurer that was their own person making a decision, just like each one of us is our own self making a decision. And I don't know how to put it another way. I wish it was able to be put into the charter, but I don't want to slow this up. So, and I don't want it to be me making the decision any more than any one of us. So I think we should make plans to put it on the ballot for next November.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Thank you, and I appreciate your willingness to always take these things out of committee and open the floor for discussion. It seems like your committee's had some high controversial items in it. Yeah, I don't support this as a whole, but I also don't think that I'm the person to decide that, and I do think the voters should decide that. Touching on Ty's point, from my personal perspective, I think having 49,000 superiors is far better than having one, in terms of the mayor's impact on, if you don't do this, am I going to have a job type of role. Whereas I know that if I'm doing the right thing, I can trust that 49,000. Obviously, they don't all vote. I wish they did, but but there's some reinforcement there that you have stability. And I find personally that someone willing to go out and campaign every 2 years for a job wants a job a lot more than someone that just gets hired. And then I also find the strange aspect of someone elected by a body believes that they should decide, they should hire for a role, and that same group of citizens who voted for them can't make the decision to vote for two other people for appropriate positions. So it's just very weird. It's a weird ideology to me to think that, they're not qualified to pick these two roles, but they were qualified enough to pick me. But that being aside, not those two roles. Just a strange concept. But again, in summary, I'd like to see the voters decide this and not the body. Thank you.
Councilor Copus?
I'd like to disagree a little bit with you because in my view, these two roles are very different than our roles in that these two roles are very technical, where ours, I don't want to say, depend a little bit more on, I don't want to say common sense, but we're dealing with a broader range of issues across a diverse range of topics, where these are very specialized technical type things, especially the treasurer, in my opinion. And I don't want to say that electing one of us is necessarily a popularity contest, but I wouldn't necessarily want to elect the treasurer for the city based on a popularity contest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I may, real quick. I was just referring to the mayor, not us. Though I wholeheartedly agree regarding this body, whether it's qualified or not. However people view being a city councilor, I was more directly in terms of the mayor and the roles and the similar procedural followings that happen in the mayor's office as opposed to those two offices.
So I'm okay passing this so that we can get it before the full council and then decide at that point what we do with it. I mean, I do I do want to move forward with it in some capacity. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to, decide that next week. But I think if we move it out and then decide that we want to amend it on the floor by adding a provision that requires voter approval, I would be okay with that. I saw your reaction, Councilor Kobus. If you've got a different opinion, feel free to jump in. So. Yeah.
I don't see the rush. I don't see the need to rush to vote it out of committee. I'd like to understand more regarding what we would need to do in order to put it on the ballot for next November. Do we need to change this? I don't know that I would be ready to, as it stands right now, I don't know that it's ready to be voted out of committee.
That's fair, and maybe you're looking at this as sort of a process where the voter approval happens first before we petition the legislature. Is that
Correct.
more the lines what you're
Yes.
thinking? Okay, because I guess I'm thinking sort of the reverse, and maybe that's why I don't have that hesitation. But that being said, that's a good point, and maybe that's something that we should look at process-wise. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Councilor LaVoy.
Thank you. I remember when this was introduced or at the public hearing, I believe the mayor touched on it, could be wrong. The issue was not getting it on the ballot, piggybacking it off the state ballot. The state had no interest in allowing it on the Attleboro state ballot. But I'm not, where we're talking next year, I don't know why this isn't something that we just kill in committee and allow it to be reintroduced as a voting measure. I think it's almost weird to take this whole piece of business that the public hearing was geared as, hey, we can't get this on the state ballot, we want you to do it, and petition the state body. I just think that, why don't we allow the mayor and whomever else is working with the mayor on this to do their homework and put it in as a voter-driven initiative. I think it's a bit much to expect the city council to do that. I mean, we didn't ask to introduce this piece of business, and I mean, maybe you want to, but I think it's a lot of homework for you and for the body to try to navigate, maybe work with Peter on it. It seems like a lot, and I really think to kill it in committee and to send the message to the mayor to, hey, you're welcome to put it back in as a voter-driven initiative. We'd be happy to get it through and get a public hearing going on that. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm, as I hear more from everybody, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning on it.
Thank you. Thank you. So we could also do a if we agreed, the council could create a resolution to say, we think the administration should look at this approach for this. So that's another option, to have it, strike it from committee, but then come up with something that says, as a body, we agree that it's something that should be addressed by the voters. Just another option. I think we get that.
Yeah, I do like that idea. Yeah, so I think those are plenty of ideas for us to consider at this point. So I'll slow down my my speed on this particular matter.
When you're ready, I can rescind my second.
Yes. Does anyone else have any comments or questions or anything to add? Okay. All right.
Then I rescind my second.
Councilor Kopus has rescinded his second. So that concludes the business of ordinances, elections, and legislative matters. Call for an adjournment at 8:03.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:03.
So, rules and procedure?
Rules and procedure are canceled this evening, and special committee for.
Special Committee on Classification Compensation is canceled this evening, but we will be having some updated information very shortly in the coming weeks.
And the special committee for tax abatement review is canceled as well for this evening.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Aye.